Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Main Street Moments podcast. This is Kathy.
And Brian.
And we're going to talk about a lot of things today. I just wanted to thank all the new listeners we have for the podcast. You know, we put this on Apple iTunes, and we also upload it to YouTube. And I've had a lot of people message me through social media that they're new to the podcast. They really like it. So we really, really appreciate all of you guys, and welcome to any new listeners. Now, you wanted to talk about, we're going to get into some Disney news, but the first thing you want to talk about this big fight that happened at Disneyland a few days ago that everybody was talking about.
You know, I tell you, they had this big fight at Disneyland, and
which was crazy.
It's amazing to me how many people don't know the difference between Disneyland and Disney World.
Really?
Because I'm hearing a lot of people talk about this fight at Disneyland, and they think it was
in Orlando. Right. Or Kissimmee, whatever.
Disney World is what we have in Florida. We live in Florida. Disneyland is the original, right? Walt Disney's original Magic Kingdom in Anaheim, California.
Disneyland is in Anaheim, right?
Yeah, and you know, I'd forgotten about this, but I saw a fight many years ago before we were married at Walt Disney World in Orlando.
Oh, in person?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it wasn't in the park. It was at Pleasure Island.
Oh well, that I don't count that as Disney.
No, it was Disney. Well, now it's Disney Springs now.
But
Pleasure
that's,
Island.
To me, not the same as a park.
Yeah, I was at. Well, I'll tell you real quick.
Because I was full of drunks.
I was at one of the clubs at Pleasure Island. They had a 1970s themed club. It was called 8 Tracks.
Yes. And
two guys got into a fight. It only lasted about 6 seconds because there was so much security. The security came out of nowhere. I mean, it was instantaneous.
Yeah. Well, that's how it always has been, and that is how it always should be, and that is what everybody thinks of Disney when they think of Disney security. But this video, I watched it, and this fight went on with this family. I don't know who the players were. I'm assuming there was a mother and a father.
Well, I've got some information on it.
And the fight went on for 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. And people in the park, will you tell it? You're going to read the article.
Well, what happened is I know everyone's seen the video of the fight. A guest of Disneyland actually intervened in the fight who was not with them.
A couple
got
involved.
A guy from Texas was visiting Disneyland out there in Anaheim, and he saw the fight, and because a woman was getting hit, he intervened. Not Disney security, and he gave an interview, and he gives some information about what happened, which is it's crazy. And I'll just read you the story here. It says, as footage of the violent brawl between guests at Disneyland continues to make headlines, one of the men who stepped up to intervene is speaking out. He said this, my instinct was that the fight shouldn't happen, and something needed to take place, said Jason Blair of El Paso High School. He's a football coach there. And he can be seen in the video trying to hold back one of the men involved in the melee. He said this. He says, I saw those kids there. I just felt I had to get in there and break everything up. Blair, who was visiting Disneyland with his family, appeared Tuesday night on television to talk about this. He says, this fight took, when you look at the video, it took spans like 4 minutes, he says. He admitted he didn't see what started the altercation and only became aware of the severity when he spotted a gentleman beating up on a lady.
Oh, yeah. But I saw that.
Yeah. And then he says here, the guy was extremely violent, and he was enraged, but he was only attacking the woman, and I'm definitely not going to stand for that. Footage of the fight, which took place on Saturday in Toontown at Disneyland, of all places.
They used to have a Toontown at Walt Disney World.
Yeah, they tore it down. The video shows a man punching a woman, reportedly his sister, after she spits on him during an argument between her and another man. The two men are then seen fighting each other before the other man punches a different woman in the video.
There were like 5 people involved in this fight. All in the family. It was sad.
At different points in the video, Blair, this is the guy on vacation, can be seen trying to keep the first man away from the rest of the people in the fight. And when the man again attacks another woman, knocking her to the ground and punching her repeatedly while she's down, Blair is one of the few who fights to pry him away. Park officials are seen responding to the melee as the footage ends. And he says, I don't know what their protocols are as far as security, but it did take a long time.
4 minutes is a long time, and there were a lot of people there watching this, and it was really horrific. I've never seen anything like that. I don't think anybody has at Disney. And I was very surprised that it took so long for security to break this up. All kinds of kids around, people around. It's awful.
That's what I don't understand, because I've never been to Disneyland, but at Walt Disney World, at all of the parks, in particular the Magic Kingdom, I see security everywhere throughout the park. Uniform security. We have a lot of security here.
How do they have, I'm sure they have plain clothes.
There's some plain clothes guys,
do they wear
too.
like earpieces?
Yeah, they wear earpieces.
I've never
but there's a
noticed
lot of uniformed security at Walt Disney World. I see them all over. You were showing me, there's one guy who works at Disney Hollywood Studios, and he's got an Instagram, one of the security guards.
The guy behind the magic. I follow him on Instagram. Yeah, he's at Toy Story Land.
Yeah, I guess that's where his post is. There's security everywhere, so I cannot imagine a fight breaking out at Walt Disney World and it taking 4 minutes for security to respond.
I think that's what was really shocking. Not that there was a fight. I mean, that's bad enough, but that it took Disney because I always think of Disney as one of the most secure places ever to go to. I always feel totally
well, you're
safe
supposed to
there.
be escaping the magic. You're
really
in the magic. Well, no, you're not escaping the magic. You're escaping the world through the magic.
You're escaping the world,
into the world of magical kingdoms. Well, the thing about it, though,
because Disney is the one place where you feel totally safe.
I'm not going to count the bar fight at Pleasure Island that lasted 6 seconds.
We saw a few other things there too.
But the thing about Walt Disney World here in Orlando, while I've never seen a fist fight between families, you see a lot of people. Mostly the husbands who get enraged and get so. People talk about this a lot.
Yeah, no, we see a lot of people yelling at each other.
I don't know if there's a term for it. If anyone knows of a term that's used to describe this Disney anger,
Disney rage.
Disney rage.
Rage.
Write in the comments. But sometimes it's in the hotel, sometimes it's in the park. You'll see it's usually the husbands. They are just in a rage. And what people talk about with this is because they're spending so much money.
Yeah. I see a lot of mothers yelling at their children, believe it or not. And I see a lot of husbands and wives fighting. Disney is a great place and it is a very magical place, but it is extremely expensive, especially if you are flying in and you are spending thousands and thousands of people come in from out of town for a week, 2 weeks. They're spending $5,000 to $10,000. So when you're spending that kind of money,
some of them are.
You want everything.
We go on the cheap.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, we live here. You want everything perfect. And when you're spending all this money and you're in a tiny hotel room, living together on top of each other, the room gets messy, the kids are screaming, everybody's like pulling their hair out. It's stressful. So I don't fault them for that. You're going to see that kind of stuff at Disney. Nobody's perfect. I mean, Disney might be perfect, but people that go there, we're not perfect. We're people. Well, maybe Disney does have some flaws, but anyway, that's one thing. But this was like an all-out physical altercation. When
the husband and wives get angry at Walt Disney World over the money, it's because they're spending so much money. They want everything. They want it to be like clockwork. And sometimes
they want it perfect.
If one thing doesn't run the way that they want it to run, they just totally. I mean, you'll see this all the time. They just totally lose it.
Also, what happens is. This is why planning your trip is very important. Now, you have to be flexible because things do happen. Rides break down. Characters you want to meet might not be available. It could rain. Things happen. So it's important to really plan your trip as much as you can. Fast passes, dinner reservations. But to understand things happen. Now, back in the day, in the 70s, people did not have to plan their trip like this. You just there was just Magic Kingdom.
Yeah.
You didn't have all these different options, and you just kind of went and showed up and just kind of did your thing. You got your tickets and...
Well, maybe it seemed that... Maybe it wasn't really that way.
No,
it
was that way. You did not have all these events or dining options
or things
like that.
You
didn't have... They didn't have fast passes. You didn't have to plan so much. You just showed up and...
Well, and also there weren't...
At the parks.
There weren't the heavy crowds because you didn't have so many hotels and everything everywhere. It wasn't like it is. It was much different than it is today.
Yeah. So anyway, Disney can be stressful, but obviously it doesn't...
it can be dangerous at Disneyland.
Apparently, they need to...
Fight Club.
Beef up their security, for sure.
Disney Fight Club out there.
So anyway, I want to get into some of the news. Florida health officials, this is important, have warned of a rabies outbreak or problem at Disney World's Epcot. And what happened is they found a feral cat in that area that has rabies. And these things do spread because they can infect other animals. So they're advising the public to avoid contact with any stray cats and all wildlife, particularly raccoons, bats, foxes, skunks, and otters. Who would go near these animals? Mainly the cats and dogs.
I've never seen a cat at Well, I'll tell you though.
Well, there's a lot of animals around
there,
so there could be. They found one near Epcot, so there's a 2-mile radius.
Well, you know what I'm wondering about?
It's for like a 2-month warning.
When you talk about cats, I'm sure other people have noticed this. But just over the last year, maybe even less than a year, I'm seeing people bring dogs into Walt Disney World. Last time I was at Epcot, I was in Italy, and there was a woman with a golden retriever just walking around.
Well, they bring in service dogs.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know what the rules are about that. We should look into this. I've been curious about this because
It's service dogs only.
Come on.
No,
I saw what constitutes a service dog? The woman wasn't blind, and I saw a woman.
You could have a therapy dog. If any dog that's deemed, in fact, one woman that sued Disney, she just passed away.
Yeah,
she was suing Disney because they would not allow her therapy dogs into the parks.
I've seen a few people with like little tiny dogs that they carry, and having carriages and things like this. It seems a bit much.
Well, they deem them...
I think maybe the regulations on getting a dog classified as a therapy dog must be a little lax.
Well, anyway...
It's just weird to see dogs in the park.
In the Epcot area and around that area, it said for the summer, I guess they're trying to get a hold of it, do not allow, if you see a stray cat or a fox or any kind of stray
lot of animals. I see a lot of...
Avoid them because they have found rabies in this one cat.
What about squirrels? There are squirrels everywhere.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
Was that on the list?
A lot of people... No, but I would avoid squirrels.
Squirrels are everywhere.
When you're at Disney World, there are squirrels
everywhere.
And people film them, and these animals are not afraid of people because they're so used to people. I was watching one video... where somebody was at the Jungle Cruise, and there was a kid next to them, and there was like a squirrel, and the kid was leaning down and trying to feed the squirrel out of their hand.
That's right.
So
Crazy.
Please tell your children if they see a stray cat or any kind of animal, do not go near because there is a rabies outbreak right now that they're in the Epcot area, especially.
Yeah. I was at the Swiss Family Robinson Treehouse, and I was like almost up at the top. This is in one of our videos. If you go and watch there's 2 videos we have at the Treehouse. This is the second one, the more recent one. There was a squirrel way up high, and I was right in front of me, and I was afraid to walk the steps because I was afraid. So oh my Lord.
Okay, and a little more piece of news. If you go to the water parks, which I can't go to water parks because I'm on oxygen, and that's something I can't do, unfortunately. I wish I could. But you don't like to go to the water parks. And no, I was thinking about adding that to
don't add.
our pass.
I won't use it.
But so why? Because they look like so much fun to me.
Because when...
I think you're crazy.
Because first off, we live in Florida. We can just drive down the street and be in the beach.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. So it doesn't matter.
The beach is right down the street.
Disney water parks are really cool.
I cannot get myself to go to Walt Disney World and go to a water park. I just can't get myself to... Or play miniature golf.
Don't be like Brian. Enjoy the water parks and the miniature golf because I think they're very cool. But Blizzard Beach is closing September 8th for refurbishments, just to let you guys know that's
I just cannot get myself to go. I know that everybody seems to have a good time, but I just... Come on. You get a Space Mountain or a water park?
So I want to talk about the new hotel that opened, the Grand Destino. And we were at Coronado, and I'll link the video in this video at the end. We did a Coronado Springs room tour. And that actually, by the way, has had 5,000 views. That's had more views than I think all our other videos combined so far. And I always tell Brian it's because I'm in that video. But anyway, we did a whole video on Coronado Springs, so I'll link it up. Check it out. It's a pretty comprehensive video of the resort and the new room. And they built this huge tower, and everybody's there. They're all vlogging about it. They're showing videos. I was watching a guy live stream last night. Passport to the Parks. It's very beautiful.
When we stayed at the Coronado, if you watch our YouTube video on it, it'll say the building because I can't remember the name of the building. I got to tell you, Coronado, I would like that to be like the hotel I stay in every time, and I'll tell you why. The rooms seem bigger to me because a lot of the rooms in some of the resorts, in particular the value resorts, to me they seem small.
They are a little on the small side. The Coronado rooms are very nice, so I definitely recommend. Plus, there's not as many kids running around. It's much more chill and laid back. Now, the prices were lower because they had construction going on, and they finished this tower, so I'm expecting the prices to go back up a little bit. I mean, I got a room for like $180. Now, I think they're going to go up a little bit more, but the tower looks amazing. They have this a huge area on the 16th floor that's got like a restaurant with a bar with a balcony, and you could see Hollywood Studios, and it just looks beautiful. I definitely want to stay there. So
Absolutely.
I would suggest, now we haven't done a vlog on that obviously yet because we haven't been there yet, but we will eventually. We'll stay there and do that. But I would definitely go on YouTube, and there's a ton of videos already. It's funny because all these people go to the media event, like all the big top guys go, they get invited, like Big Fat Panda and Passport to the Parks and Tim Tracker. And then the next day, they all put all their videos on YouTube of the same thing. So,
the thing about the Coronado, because when we stayed at Coronado, I liked it. I liked it a lot. We stayed there in January. And it's a little different because it's a convention hotel.
Yeah.
And there are
a lot of business people.
Yeah, and when we were there was a convention, and there were a lot of people from a company that makes military equipment.
Yeah.
And I was walking to our room, and there were these two people in front of me, and it was the most bizarre conversation I ever heard in my life. It was two salesmen from this company that makes missiles, like shoulder-guided missiles that the military use.
Oh, my gosh.
And they were talking about their sales pitch. I can't remember the missile. It's a very famous rocket. Like shoulder-launched rocket, and they were doing it's a rocket from the 80s, and
Aren't they called rocket launchers or something?
No, they were going through this whole sales pitch on how to sell this rocket, this shoulder-launched rocket from the 1980s. I'm thinking, this is the most bizarre I'm at Walt Disney World. This is the most bizarre.
It's crazy.
But the crowd is different, at least when we were there.
I thought it was much more chill, and they added a new restaurant. There's a beautiful lake there. They have hammocks you can sit out.
They have a really cool pool area.
Yeah.
It's like Mayan themed. They got like a pyramid and all that.
Yeah, and it's a good resort for a moderate. It's a pretty good price. All the rooms have been redone. The tower, like I said, there's a restaurant in there called the Toledo, which looks amazing. And there's a bar in there, like the Dali Bar, Salvador Dali. And a friend of mine gave me a book on Disney and Salvador Dali, their relationship. I did not know they were good friends. So this whole bar has pictures of the two of them together and talking about their relationship. But
there's two
really
things
neat.
that I've seen, because I was watching Big Fat Panda on YouTube.
Yeah,
okay?
He's got good
and
videos.
He had a really good video of the tower at Coronado, and
it's beautiful. The lobby, it's gorgeous.
There were two things I thought were really cool. In the lobby, they've got a mural of Walt Disney, which was really cool. Or maybe I don't know if it's a mural.
Painting.
Is it a painting?
It's a painting. Yeah.
Yeah. And then when
which they should have more of at Disney World.
He was at the very top where they have that lounge and they've got this outdoor walk around balcony where you can see.
You can see Hollywood Studios.
You can see Hollywood Studios. Can you see any other parks if you walk around?
I think so. They're a little further away, but I was watching Passport to the Parks, and he was there last night live streaming. And of course, on live streams, the picture will be a little more grainy, but he was there, and they had the Hollywood Studios nighttime fireworks with the Star Wars thing, and it was so cool to see it from that distance, because you see the fireworks going up in the air from a distance, and it's just amazing. So I definitely want to stay there. I think it looks like a really fantastic place. Anyway, thanks so much for listening, guys, to our podcast, and we'll do another one in a couple days. This is Kathy.
And Brian.
And follow us on Facebook. We have a Facebook group, on Twitter, Instagram, and we will see you guys at the parks.